Good morning, Beeville. This is Cindy Clark from PAC-B TV, and I'm out here this morning at Mercer Park in Beeville with the mayor. Welcome, Mayor Clark. Thank you for joining us this morning. And what's on the agenda today is to go through and kind of give everybody out there, all our viewers, a little information on the parks and areas of interest for outdoor activities in the village, because probably a lot of people aren't aware of just how much there is to be offered. So we're now at Mercer Park, and I will let Mayor Clark start our little tour here.
Well, you are right. I think people underestimate or don't ever take a look and realize what we have to offer. It started years ago. I don't take credit for it. I mean, this was all begun years ago, and I've helped add to it. But people realize that in a community like this, you shouldn't have to drive for entertainment. You've got young kids, you can bring them to a park like this. There's a playground, there's water that, young kids enjoy seeing a river and boats go by. Sometimes when you live in a city or a village, you don't get exposed to that kind of stuff. You and I got exposed. We lived a block away from this park. This is where we learned to swim at the beach down here.
Right down here.
Once upon a time, I know it would be hard for people to believe, but there were the buoys and the ropes and a raft, and you had to pass a test to go out on the raft. And so we would come down every day during the summer and swim and meet our friends and that type of stuff. And then there was a basketball court. You'd go up and shoot some hoops. This building, which has been redone over the years, was similar, but it had a little shop where you could get soda and candy and a hot dog.
I remember.
And there were people worked every day here, so assuming the weather was good. And so you could come down here and spend the whole day at Mercer Park and go home for dinner. And
when the street lights come on,
yeah,
right?
And Mom would say, well, what'd you guys do? I said, we didn't do anything, except we swam all day and we played basketball and we ate goodies and met our friends and had a great time. It was the only park at the time, which is kind of amazing to think, 60 years ago, this was the park. And it's evolved into a much different kind of park. I mean, we've put sidewalks in here so people in wheelchairs can go down and sit along the edge of the river, and get to a bench.
Let's take a little walk down here and let everybody see what we've got.
I mean, you see this is a handicap type picnic table, so somebody in a wheelchair could wheel up to the end of it and be a part of it, not have to struggle. They can join the table, and we've got it paved so that they can get up here without any problems. They can come in from the parking lot, come all the way down through. There's benches all along the way. We have picnic tables scattered throughout. We have a gazebo. We have a pavilion. You can rent those. And I say you can rent them. You can use them anytime. But if you want to make sure it's available for just you, then you rent it. It's like $30 for a day type thing. And if anybody else comes along, there's a sign on it that says this is reserved for Cindy Clark. And so you don't come down here later for your party and go, somebody took the pavilion.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you how that works.
So that's the reason we encourage people to sign up so you don't get caught short. We put in a few years ago a canoe kayak launch over here. This is a handicap accessible. That's what the white area is. Somebody in a wheelchair would go out on there, slide off the wheelchair onto the top of that white step type thing, and then go down, slide their butt down step by step and into the kayak and off into the river. We have one of these also at Community Park. And we have areas, there's a far down the way, that little yellow railing type thing is a fishing area that wheelchairs can go out onto. And you can't go in the river because you'll hit the railing. And so people in a wheelchair can come up and cast and fish a little bit. And again, be a part of what everybody else is getting to enjoy. The view here is beautiful. I mean, it's like Old Man River. This just keeps flowing. It doesn't ever change. It's the same river, but all the boats lined up over on the wall, the historic cemetery across the way. I mean, if people want to come down and have a time to just reflect on life, listen, what do you hear? Not much. Pretty quiet. You can come down here and sit on a bench and really just enjoy life and think. And if you're grieving or if you're celebrating, whatever you might be, you can come down here and just relax. And you can see quite a ways up the river. It's beautiful at sunset because the sun sets right at that end of the river. You sit here and get, the sun goes down. It's gorgeous.
Oh, just as an aside, too, on the 2nd of July, the fireworks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like to come down here in the parking lot and watch, because the fireworks typically are let off from almost directly across from us, aren't they?
Right.
And it's a show. They come over the river. They're gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Gorgeous.
Reflects over the water.
Yeah, they're nice. And then Paper Mill Island's having concerts that night.
Yep.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I think it's called the Beeville Blast. They got 3 different bands and
good bands too.
Yeah.
Real good bands.
So it's a nice area. I mean, you can come here and you can listen to all the concert on Paper Mill Island.
Right.
They don't not necessarily want to discourage people from buying a ticket, but if they want to come and put a lawn chair here and relax, you can hear the music quite well. It comes up the river nice, and you can avoid the traffic and that type of stuff. Although this park usually gets packed pretty good for
Yes,
4th
it
of
does.
July fireworks.
Yes, it does.
So
I
then-
can attest to that.
So then we can walk down a little bit, and it really is, other than a little goose poop occasionally. And
Speaking of that, I noticed we have what looks like a dog. We're up and coming here. Now, I wasn't sure. I came down the park one day and I saw this. I go, what is that? So then I had to come over and actually investigate. And then I realized it was to discourage the birds.
yeah, they fly above, and when they see the silhouette of the dog, they keep on flying.
And it moves around with the wind.
And you have to move the dog occasionally because the geese are very smart. If it's in the same spot 3-4 days in a row,
They figure it
they
out.
figure out that it's not a real dog. And so you come down and people say, well, there's no ducks around anymore, but there's 4 or 5 ducks floating into the shore.
Oh, I've seen them they come up at my house. I've seen them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They just don't happen to need to be here because there's plenty of food and stuff for them right now.
People are still feeding them the corn.
We had a walk one day. I walked with my grandson, and we walked the trail behind the post office, and we saw swans, geese, ducks, great blue heron. What else? There was something else.
See an eagle?
Did not see an eagle, but it was like 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, and they're not out and around as much as you would see them in the morning. And again, there's more of them up here floating through. But this is the so-called beach area. When we were kids, this was pretty important. There was a lifeguard stand here, and they had the ropes going out to the
deep end.
and it was deep.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we had a lot of issues with the quality of the water because a lot of the camps upriver emptied their sewage into the river, and people were getting sick, strep throat and that kind of stuff from being exposed to stuff in the water, and they had at different times shut it down, and I think that was really the end of it, was that the water quality
Right.
made it so hard to fight through, and then people started getting pools in their backyards, and this wasn't nearly as important. But I mean, you could come down here, and that beach area with little kids would be packed. There'd be
Absolutely.
moms sitting up here on blankets or in lawn chairs, older kids out swimming. This was a hopping place.
It certainly was.
And now,
Certainly was.
we've added this playground, which is really fancy. And we were particularly pleased that during COVID, people were restricted on where they could go. Things closed down, museums were closed, and things like that, where you might take your kids to see something. But we tried to make sure our parks were kept up so that, people who weren't trapped in their house, people were worried about mental problems being caused by being locked in your homes. And so we, people have to be able to get to parks, because some people wanted to close parks. And we just said, we've got to do what we can. People are going to have to take a risk a little bit. And if they come to a park, we're not going to clean it every 20 minutes, wipe it down. You just can't possibly do that. And
Do you ever recall when we were kids, a playground like that?
We had a set of swings and a slide.
That was it.
you know, and like the swing set over there behind the gazebo.
Right. That's
yeah.
it.
So
We manage though.
and the gazebo works nice when they have events down here. You know, some people like to rent the gazebo and have their picnic up inside there. Other people like the pavilion. And then the basketball court, which still has some hoops up, which I was curious before we came down. I couldn't remember if we had left them up. But we used to play a lot of basketball here. There used to be a fence around it for the tennis courts. And you had the tennis players and the basketball players had to fight each other for the court. But we would come down here as kids and play football up on the hill or baseball. You know, nice to play baseball that way because even if you hit it, it was going uphill, so you wouldn't go too far.
Like somebody's back window or something
Well,
like that.
yeah, you know, Shelley Hoffman lives up there now.
I know,
we don't want to
know.
hit any baseballs in her backyard.
No, we do not.
But this was really a very important part of our childhood,
And not just many children or many kids. Like you said, very important because we all came down here. We started out young, and then as we grew, we kept coming.
Yeah.
Like you say, to play basketball. As we got older, they used to have teen canteen dances there. I mean, this was where it was at,
Yep.
and everybody congregated. Never had any problems. It was a great time to grow up in this community.
You might once a summer get some kids show up who'd had too much to drink, but for the most part, people respected the fact that if they did anything stupid like that, it would end.
It would end for everybody.
The fun. So
right.
Now this was a very important part of growing up, and I think for some people it still is. There's people over, you know, on the playground, you know, right now, and
Well, whenever I come down, there's always other people, you know, depending on the time of day and, you know, the weather naturally. But I'll come down a lot of times, just take a walk and reflect, like you said. And there's always somebody here. There's
Yep.
always somebody here. Maybe not packed, but there's always somebody here. Cars in the parking lot if people are just having a cup of coffee and eating their lunch. Yeah.
and this is one of the parks that has restrooms.
Yes.
The,
Now, are they open all the time, or do
They're
they
open.
close?
The DPW water department crew comes in the morning and opens it up and cleans it up, and then the police lock it up at sunset.
Oh, okay.
So it's not open all night, but it is open, you
The
know,
critical hours.
until 9 o'clock now. You know, when it's still getting just getting dark. And during COVID, we put in some handless water faucets where you just put your hand in front and it turns
Right.
on. Because we thought the less people have to hold on and grab things that other people have touched, the less chance of spreading stuff. You know, don't know if it made any impact or not, but you had to try some things. And so we're pretty pleased with our park. We've had different thoughts on what to do with the court area, but when they have the big chill, that's where they put their tent. Families that come down like to use that area because little kids can have their little bike type things and ride them around, and so this is survived the ages. You know,
It certainly has. How long has this park been here?
I don't-
know when we were kids it was here, obviously,
Yeah,
which was quite
I really
a few years
don't know
ago.
historically when it was built. I mean, we moved back to Beeville in 59,
It was here then.
59,
Yeah.
and it was here then, and I'm assuming it had been here before that. So we're talking probably minimum of 70 years. You know, and it's named after Louise Mercer, I graduated with Martha Goodfellow, and it's her grandmother, and she's always been very proud of it. We had a reunion here one year. We lined up chairs and had a nice party, and it was 4th of July weekend. It wasn't the 4th of July, but they were having fireworks across the way, and we told everybody that we
was
had
because of
scheduled
them. Right,
the
right.
fireworks for the reunion.
Sure,
So everybody
sure.
everybody had their lawn chair. We lined the beach here with all class of '64 graduates and watched the fire. And like you said, this is the perfect place to watch the fireworks.
It is.
There's nobody in front of you, so everybody thanked us for getting the fireworks and how much.
In their honor.
Yeah.
Right. I know it. Well, that's
hey.
all right. If you can pull it off, that's great. That's great.
This is one of our gems, and as we go along today, I think we'll show people that we have many other places in the village where you can walk, you can sightsee, you can check out the wildlife. Just get out of the house and be outdoors.
Well, where are we headed? Where's the next stop here?
We'll go to McCary Park
Okay.
next. Some people will remember, the older people in the community will remember McCary Park was where the South Side School was years ago, elementary school that was, for people who lived on that side of the river, has great memories. And you know, I remember when we moved here, I don't know that anybody was still going to that school, but just not too long after that, it was definitely closed, and they eventually had to tear it down. And now it's been made into a nice little neighborhood park. Let's go see it.
Okay, we'll see you in a few. Hi, Beeville, this is Cindy and the mayor. We're back for part 2 of the tour of the Beeville Parks. And here we are at McCary Park. And Mayor, take it away.
Well, I would think that this is probably one of the unknown gems of the village. I mean, if you take a look around, this is a beautiful park. If you wanted to bring your kids down and play kickball or tag or just to burn some energy off, look at all the room to run. And again, it's well taken care of by our DPW. They mow it and keep it trimmed up. There's plenty of trees for shade. There's picnic tables. We'll walk our way over. There's a playground, old style playground, and then a new style playground. But this is an older section of the village, and a lot more renters in this side of the village. So people who live in a house but maybe don't have a big yard, and they want to bring their kids down, run, get rid of, burn off the stink type of thing, run, just go, kick the ball. Now you can bring your dogs in the parks, but we ask that you keep your dogs on leashes. We have people who are deathly afraid of dogs,
right?
Who don't deserve to be terrorized by some dog who won't bite them, but runs up to them and scares them. And I understand that. I mean, I'm not afraid of dogs, but some people are. And there's people that have gotten bit that way. So we ask people to keep them on a leash. And
we have the facilities here. We have the little bags and the receptacles here for the dogs. There's garbage receptacles too for the humans.
Yep. If you look, I mean, you've seen backyards of all these people's houses. I mean, this is what this is, a backyard park. There's a walkway that cuts through to Downer Street, and of course the main entrance is here on Canton Street. But this is 4 kids and an adult pushing them on the swing and keeping them going. Got the new modern style playground, which should get kids excited when you see the colors and the way it looks. And this is lit at night. The old style lights.
The old style, yeah.
So if you're out walking, you can cut through the park at dusk and not feel like it's dark and scary. And
it's really quite lovely at night too. It is.
Yeah, and I think this is a kind of a cool setting. I mean, if you want to have a picnic and you go out and spread out on the grass, put a blanket down and with your kids, and they can run around. There's plenty of it, and it's fenced around so that they can't just run out through people's yards to get out of here. You can kind of keep track of your kids. And then the real nice touch to this park is the Shacksboro Museum being here. This is, years ago, they brought it in from, I think it was out Canton Street somewhere, and they transported it here, and it's now our historic museum. And
which is a nice little side tour in and of itself, because there's a lot of history in the museum. And if you're not familiar with the area or the history of Baldwinsville, take the time, check the hours, take the time, come on and take a look at it, because you'll be amazed, because you'll say, I had no idea. And you'll be, information that you will garner, you would be absolutely amazed with.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with COVID that, a lot of the programs had to take a back seat and shut down because you didn't want people inside buildings, but they have regular remembering Baldwinsville type of stuff where residents of the village who've been here a long time could talk about when the school was here. And for people who can't remember that, who are too young, you look around and go, there was actually a school here, and then then you realize, it's big enough for an old style school, right, and a playground and probably a backstop for a baseball, for kids to play baseball and stuff. And a lot of the kids I graduated with talk about having gone to the South Side School and how special it was and the memories. And if you look over by the side of the museum, you see the remnants of they're all their flowers, and they just had a big sale.
They have the
peonies.
The Peony Fest. That's a great time.
Yeah, and it's again, it's a touch of the old. It's people did that years ago. You know, there's places that do with roses. You know, up at Thornton Park,
Right,
they have the
right.
rose garden
Right.
and that type of stuff. But here, peonies are our big thing, and you'll see on Facebook at the time of the Peony Fest, where people will say, look at these beautiful peonies I've got that I bought. You know, cut peonies, or I bought a bush to plant in my yard, and so it kind of is a link to history. You know, you remember you used to love reading books. They would talk about. They had strawberry festivals where everybody brought their favorite strawberry dessert, and you lined up in a park, and they had them on a couple tables, and mom and dad brought the kids, and everybody got a strawberry shortcake or a strawberry pie or whatever it was that was being offered. Those are great for me.
Great memories.
It just gets you excited, you know, about the old days, and if you really want to know what made Baldwinsville what it is, this is where to go. And if you have a question, if you have family ties, they'll help you look up stuff. I think my parents lived on McCary Street, or my grandparents lived on McCary Street, but I'm not sure. Well, we'll look and see. We'll help you try to find some reference and maybe link you to your lineage, and maybe there's a picture somewhere that shows the street, and you can say, oh, that looks like my grandparents' house that I saw a picture of. Yeah, that must be where that was, and they're very helpful. Matter of fact, this hat I bought from their gift shop. They have a great gift shop.
Well, I've got a throw that I put on my couch that's got pictures of the dam and the mural down in Baldwinsville, and a picture of the museum, all on this throw.
And they have jewelry and scarves and stuff, and this one's reminiscent of the canal boats. And they have books written by, like people remember probably Bit's Turkey Farm up in Plainville.
Right. Yep.
And Bob wrote a book or two about the village and the area. And if you really want to know the history, great reading. I mean, you'll see names and you go, oh, that's where that street came from.
That's
the
right.
name of that street. They named
That's
it
right.
after this guy who was a judge or something in the early 1900s. And a lot of the streets, McCary, that's one of the founding fathers. You start going through and seeing names, and people that have just moved here would have no idea who McCary was, or Baldwin. You have Baldwin Canal Square, Baldwinsville, and you think, what? Who is that person? But if you wanted to know, this would be the place to go.
That's right.
They've got books, and they've got experts here that would help you find stuff.
We have some historians in this area that are a veritable fountain of information.
Oh gosh.
I told them all, you can never leave here, because these people, if you want to know what's going on or what's happened in Beeville or what happened 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, some of these people have it all. They have all the information.
You get Sue McManus, Bonnie Kisselstein.
There's several of them.
There's others that I used to love to watch, remembering Baldwinsville, because the older people would come in and talk about when they were kids, and it's a time when our parents were kids. They were people they knew, and I love to hear that stuff. I can't hear enough of it, and I know that PAC-B at times has repeated them and shown them from years ago. Windsor Price and I can't.
Well, you've got the Mercer, the Goodfellows, all those names
and you just hear, oh, he lived next door, or we used to go golfing together, and it's like it all links together. And to me, I really enjoy that, and I know there's other people that do too. So, Shacksboro's a great resource, and take advantage of it. If you don't know about your village, you ought to, because it helps you understand why things get done the way they do.
Right.
Why we have parks, because that's what they used to do, and we're trying to keep that alive.
Well, I think it's great because, particularly if you have families, young children, they can come and enjoy all the parks here. We're going to see the rest of them, but you can enjoy, like you said earlier, within driving distance or walking distance. Because when we were kids, we didn't have there was one car, and that was it. So you either hoofed it or you took your bicycle and you drove all over to different places. But they're all here and all available for everybody.
So our next stop will be Community Park.
Okay, we'll see you there. Hi, Beeville. This is Cindy with PAC-B, and I'm back with the mayor at Community Park, and he's going to give us a little information, a little history on the park and what it has to offer the community.
Well, this is another showcase. I mean, this area over here just happens to be our softball fields, which for several years were very underused, and suddenly people realized they were here and probably cheaper than some of the county parks or whatever to use. This is just about every night of the week and the weekend. There's teams and games going on, tournaments on the weekends, leagues during the week. Nice back-to-back softball fields without field fences, which people love because people love to hit them over the fence or up against the fence, that type of thing. And we're pretty proud of it. Our guys take good care of the fields. Excuse me. And,
as we can hear, sometimes as we go, we might hear a little bit of a roar in the background, but that's just the lawnmower of one of the village employees taking care of this beautiful park.
Yeah, and one thing about the softball fields that people must remember, there is a sign over there that says no dogs allowed on the ball field for a reason, because dogs have to go. And they do it on the ball field, and then teams show up to play and they have something in the middle of the field that is not wanted, and they have to clean it up. And unfortunately, people look at these fields like they're a dog park because they're fenced in, they can let their dogs run. Can't do that. We really, really don't want people to do that. We're trying to keep these things clean for the softball players, and they get plenty of use. People can use them when they're not in use. If you want to come down with your daughter and hit softballs to her, work on her fielding, that type of stuff, it's open. It's available to anybody, and pretty nice. If you take a look this way, I mean, what do you see but nothing but green all the way to the river. This is a huge, huge park. Once upon a time, people referred to this as Lions Park.
Right.
Because the Lions Club has a building down here, which is their meeting room, party room, and they like to claim the name. Well, we do all the work. Well, they didn't do all the work, but they did do some work, and we appreciate it. The playground, some of the facilities in it were helped out by Lions Club fundraising. We've partnered with them. They're great partners, they're great people in the Lions Club. We appreciate what they do in the park and how they've fought to keep it nice in their area. And it's a nice community venture together. And but if you want to come down and you want to run, I mean, there's a road that goes all the way right here, goes down and comes back. There's a trail in the woods. You can't see it, but when you cross the road over here, you can see where it comes out one side and goes the other, and goes through the woods, all the way down through where that truck is parked. The trail goes into the woods. It comes out down by the river, down along the river, and over by the trail that goes to the back of St. Mary's Church and down to the Meadow Street. So if you're in here and you're not looking to run, but you want to see something, well, you go in the woods. I'm sure you might see a snake or a frog, a lot of birds. And that's what some people. That's all they care about. Let's get out and some wildlife and get out. We want to get out of the house and feel like we're out in nature. You can do that here. This is a pretty good nature park. I can't guarantee you what birds you'll see, but people have said that they've seen all kinds of birds. Cardinals, blue jays, robins, the whole thing. And when they're now mowing the lawn, which we appreciate that they're down here mowing it, it's very quiet. I mean, you could sit a lawn chair over here or sit at a picnic table, and you probably wouldn't hear anybody for a couple hours on a typical day.
I think you're right, because I've come here too, and you can take a nap.
Yeah, but there's times you can come down in the parking lot down by the river where the boat launch is and stuff. You can hardly get through there. There's so many vehicles. So this is we used to call this, my wife Linda and I would refer to this as the hidden gem of Baldwinsville. We had a motorhome. We would bring and park it down by the river by one of the picnic tables and bring our dinner and sit, and you wouldn't see anybody for 2 hours while you're eating dinner. It's just very, boats going by, people waving to you. It's like it was our own little park. And if you came in the park and you see where the sign is, it's very difficult. I mean, it just doesn't stand out.
Right. You're absolutely right on that.
Because it's kind of meant to not be garish and, We could have painted it purple and pink and people wouldn't miss it, but this is an outdoor facility with trees and grass, and so you want it to fit in a little bit. So this is just outside the village limits, but this is part of the village. It was annexed into the village, and because of that we can qualify for community development money to do some work down here, and that's what the playground was last year. Ryan McMahon came out and dedicated it. It's a terrific playground, and what the Lions Club helped us with in that one was a swing that is handicap accessible for children in wheelchairs. So there's a little door, you wheel the wheelchair on, strap it in, and now a kid who's confined to a wheelchair can be doing what other kids are doing.
A great idea.
Yeah, and plus there's plenty of stuff for other kids to do too, and just hope that people appreciate that it's here. And again, thanks to the Lions Club. I mean, it's a perfect day
to
be looking at the parks. And
now I heard something about a new kayak launching down by the river.
Yeah, we'll walk down that way a little bit. The kayak launch that we have is not, it's the same as the one at Mercer Park. It's handicap accessible and so on. But what we're getting is a rental facility. It will be a cage type thing, and you can use your phone and a QR code and sign up to rent a kayak for 2 hours. And it gives the paddles and the life jackets and the whole thing come with it. And you know, you can put it in the river and take a ride. And it's for somebody, say like you, who says, I've never been in a kayak, I'm certainly not going to go buy one and then find out I don't like it, but I'll rent one today. I go out with my buddy, we'll take a ride on the river, and I'll say, you know, I really like this. Maybe I'll try it again, and if I like it again, maybe I'll buy one. Or, you know what, I'll stick to a bicycle. You know, it's different for everybody. Yeah. And we just hope that people will, you know, give it a chance and take it out. Maybe a father takes his son out for a weekend trip, you know, on a Saturday afternoon, and I don't know, I can't remember. I think there may be 4 kayak, and they're each in a separate cage, and I don't, off the top of my head, remember the cost per hour type thing, but we hope that people will take advantage of it and you know, enhance their enjoyment of the river and the park. It's just one more thing we can do, and you know, we have throughout the park, there's some picnic tables. There's a restroom down here. It's another one that the restroom is like Mercer Park, same type of thing, and it's opened up in the morning by the DPW, closed at night by the police. They lock it up, and then at the end of this, if you follow the driveway down to the river and take a left, head back towards the village, you connect with the trail, which is the South Shore East Trail that runs all the way to Meadow Street, right by the Barge Canal. And so you can walk along the river. There's an overlook, and we'll stop there next to kind of show where the other end of the trail is. But we'll show this end of the trail so that people can kind of think, oh, okay. You know, there's a little bridge that goes over a stream that comes into the river, Crooked Brook. I mean, you get into that part of the woods, it's like you don't even know you're in Baldwinsville.
No, you don't. I've come in, walk in, and with my bike, and it's just enough. It's just enough. If you're not into a 3-hour romp on your boat or walk, or not your boat but your bike, you can go through there and you think that you're in the middle of nowhere. You're in the Adirondacks or something, because that's the feel you get from it. Yeah. And it's all paved. It's all nice. It's a great time. So did we want to take a walk down in that area to show everybody?
Let's go down there. We can take a look at that area.
Okay.
And
all right, let's do that.
Okay.
All right, now we are at the to-be kayak rental area, and the mayor's going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Yep. This is one of the hot spots. We have a boat launch here. It's the only one in the village, and so if you come down here on the weekend, the parking area back there is loaded with trucks and trailers, and we have the kayak launch, which mirrors the one at Mercer Park, and we signed up with a company to put in a kayak rental station. They're these steel basket type things that hold a kayak, a couple of life jackets, and a couple of paddles.
Paddles, okay.
And so you can go online sign up, and then there's a QR code and so on. And if you go on our Facebook site, there's some explanations on how it all works. But this thing will be in this general area where we're standing. Will be set up on the ground, and you come down, put your phone up, and unlock.
Yeah, with a.
You'll pull out the kayak and so on, and go in. If you sign up for 2 hours and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you come back at 4 o'clock and put your kayak back. And I'm not sure of the nuances about if you came back and said, geez, I'd like to do another 2 hours. If nobody's waiting for one, can I take it? You know, that probably will all be explained in the paperwork and so on. But it's still new to us, and we're learning. But we're pretty excited about the fact that if you say wanted to do a kayak trip, and you'd say to somebody, I'd love to go on a kayak, but I'm not buying one. You know,
right.
'Cause they're fairly expensive. So, geez, I can rent one for $35 or whatever. They don't take me to task on the amount, but roughly in that area. And come down and take it out, have the life jacket, the paddle, the whole thing, take a trip down to Dogger Lake and back and say, you know, I really like this. I might go buy one now. Or, you know, it was nice. Let somebody else do it. I'll stick to walking or riding a bike. So hopefully it just adds one more thing that people can not have to leave home. You know, there's walking trails, there's there's playgrounds, there's all kinds of stuff to do. Now there's one more thing that the average person who lives in an apartment and have no place to store a kayak, if they bought one, can rent one now here and put it back in and go home and not have to worry about it.
Now you anticipate this to be installed relatively soon?
Any day.
Okay.
Any day.
Okay.
All
right.
We haven't been notified the exact day they're coming, but it was supposed to be in June, and we're still in June, so.
So you'll post that?
That'll be
and
on
let
our
the public
Facebook
know.
and on our
Okay.
websites and
Okay.
stuff like that, so that people can know that it's here. And you know, there's a pretty regular crowd that comes down here that will see that and probably wonder what the heck it is. And again, if somebody's got a kayak and wants to take a friend kayaking and says, you don't have to buy one, we can rent one at the park. Nice
But
deal.
you will be able to rent it, say, in advance, so it's almost like a reservation?
Yes.
Okay.
And nobody else will be able to open up, I'm assuming, other than the person who signed up for it.
Okay.
So,
okay.
again, we haven't seen it in action, and it was a month and a half, 2 months ago that we talked to the people about it, so it's a little, I don't remember all the details, but it goes right along with our kayak launch, our boat launch, and we're just excited to offer people one more thing that they can do to, you know, make the outdoors in Baldwinsville even that more exciting. So.
And then we also have, there's a little path, there's a path here, and then there's another path that goes back behind on Meadow Street, doesn't
right.
it? Okay.
This trail, that you can see it, excuse me, on the other side of that orange cone, that's part of the trail that goes through the woods. But there's obviously no woods right here. So it goes here and down along the river, back out to this trail that you see, which is the original trail. And we'll see that one. It's got the bridge that crosses Crooked Brook and takes you into the village. So you can have lunch at Canal Walk Cafe and then walk down to the park and walk off lunch.
Good idea.
You know, I mean,
good idea.
and maybe see an eagle. I mean, this is great eagle territory from here to the village center. I say that because people forget this is the village, and we annexed this years ago. And so again, it's well manicured, it's well taken care of. The police come down here on a regular patrol, check things out. Parks close at sunset, so you shouldn't be in here. There's no reason to be in here after dark. Occasionally a Boy Scout troop will ask if they can set up a couple of tents and stay like on a Saturday night and have an outing to part of their badge requirement type thing. And then we let the police know, and we leave the restrooms open that night so that they can get to the restrooms.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But otherwise the restrooms close at sunset as the park does. So.
Okay.
All
right. Well, what's our next adventure?
Well, let's go over to the end of the trail and just show that and that bridge. And then the next stop after this will be the South Shore East Trail that will link to that trail.
Okay.
So we'll show
Sounds
both
good.
ends of it.
Sounds very good.
Okay?
All righty.
All right, now we're on the bridge over Crooked Brook. We've just come from the park, from Community Park. And if we go this way, this trail winds all the way down behind Meadow Street, behind St. Mary's Church, and up around to the Barge Canal. And so if you have lunch at Canal Walk Cafe, you can park your car and walk down and walk off lunch and burn some calories. And if you notice, one thing missing, there's nobody walking, so that you can peace and quiet. You know, it's not like there's 100 people walking and, you know, making noise and stuff. You can walk. About halfway up there, there's an overlook, which is a built-out platform, so that you can actually feel like you're over the water a little bit, and you can look up and down the river. And again, I say, when you look around here, there is no sign of human life. You can't hear a car.
Oh wait,
You know,
I see bikes. I see bikes coming.
Well,
But that's the first. All I've been hearing is birds.
you're ruining my story.
Well, we have to go with it because they're heading down.
No,
here.
but this is so peaceful in here that, you know, you can come down. It's great for pictures. You know, if you like to take pictures of your kids or your girlfriend or your boyfriend on the bridge, you know, it's nice. The background out to the river here. You know, it's a very out of the way spot, and some people just swear by it and love it. So
I like it. I like
we'll go to the other end of the trail, which is you know, on Meadow Street at the end of Water Street, and we'll show. It's, I don't know exactly the length, but I think it's about a mile. So.
All right. All right. Well, then we'll see you there.
Okay. All right. Now we're at Community Park, and we showed you the bridge and the trail that heads back to the village. This is the other end of the trail on Meadow Street. There's Grove Street right there. There's Water Street coming down to Meadow Street over here with the canal right behind us. And then you just follow, you walk in here, you come on this trail, and you walk on down, and you go by the overlook, and eventually you come to the bridge we were standing on. It's a beautiful walk. It's very quiet.
Would you say this is about a mile?
I think it's about a mile.
No motorized vehicles, but you can take your bike, right?
You can ride a bike.
Okay.
And this is an area where you see a lot of eagles because they swoop down in and grab fish and that type of stuff. And in the wintertime especially, because this freezes over, and they can grab a fish and put it on the ice, and then you watch them, they pick them up and slam them and kill them. And
brutal.
And a lot of people love to fish. And across the way is Marble Street, where Jesse Cakes is located. If you walk down, there's a trail that walks all the way down to the end, what we call the spit. This wasn't water at one time. This was all land, and then when they built the Erie Canal, they came in and dredged all this out and created a piece of land that's in between the water that comes over the dam and the water that comes through the logs.
Like a little peninsula?
It's like a peninsula that runs down. It's just always been called the spit for some reason. I don't know. And it's actually a nice walk, except it's not. It gets a little bit overgrown sometimes. It's not something that we take care of daily, and so you might go in there and some of the bushes will be overgrown. But it's a walk to the, and at the end it's all cleared out. It's like almost like looks like a beach.
It does. It doesn't look like a little beach.
And it's a hangout for kids at night sometimes. But during the day, it's a very nice place to walk, and this is a great walk. And we can. I don't know if anybody can hear, but St. Mary's kids must be last day of school for them. It's right there. So here you are, school and life happening, and within
minutes.
I don't know, 150 yards, you're in wilderness. You can't hear anything.
And it's all in the village, all in the community, within walking distance to just about anybody that lives in the village.
Yeah, so if you come from the other direction, you can walk here and go up, grab yourself a soda somewhere, and have a sandwich, and you got to get back to your car eventually. But if you park
It's a nice walk. It's not that.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not a bad walk at all.
And places to stop along the way, benches, and you can see there's benches here. Bike rack. So if you want to drive your bike here and then walk the trail and come back, so you get a little bit of two different kinds of exercise, it's available. So we hope people would take advantage. This is kind of the jewel, really, the trail along here to the park. I mean, for hikers, that people that really love to walk, you can walk you know, you can come from like the high school and come down through the village and across and down and over and around and then come back up the other way if you want. Just so many different areas to get out and be outdoors and exercise and enjoy life.
And it's all close by too.
It's all
The
free.
accessibility is right there. It's all free. Take advantage of it because it's these jewels in this community. I imagine a lot of people don't even know, but they're great. They're great.
And now what we'll do is we'll go and show a couple more of the trails. We'll stop by the West Trail, Southwest Trail, and Paper Mill Island are kind of right there together, and that's be our next stop.
See you there.
All right, here we are now at the entranceway to Paper Mill Island. You come in by the historic Red Mill Inn, which was the former home of Mercer Mill for years and years and years, and has now been converted to, it was an inn, and now it's a senior residence. And here we are. Again, there's some ducks swimming where nature comes right into the village. You know, we're at harmony with nature. And again, it's part of what makes it so nice because you don't have to go anywhere to see that kind of stuff.
No, it's all here. It's all here.
But the Paper Mill Island is a park, and it's open unless there's an event going on, like a concert. Like Friday night, there's a concert here. It's a Zach Brown tribute band, and there'll be a big crowd. If it's supposed to rain, I hope it doesn't rain Friday night. But this was the site of a paper mill, which made it a toxic waste type of thing, and New York State and the federal government came up with some money to cap the whole thing, and they built the amphitheater, and we use that for concerts. I know that your Zumba group has used it.
Zumba on the island, yes.
We have church on the island. There's yoga on the island. There's different things that we allow people to use the facility. It's a great facility. It's right in the middle of the village. I think people come out here and look around and go, oh my gosh, the river's right here. You know, you're out in the middle, and the river's on the other side. We'll go out and we'll see how the island, Paper Mill Island, actually funnels the water to two different places, and you really do feel like you're out in the middle of it. And from this particular spot, this is the Southwest Trail that goes up just about to the end of where the boats are. And there's hookups for boats. There's water and electric. There's a visitor center over on the way where it's manned a few hours a day, where people can get menus for restaurants, find out where the post office is, find out where they can get a cough syrup at a drugstore, that type of thing.
You know, they have a sign-in book for the boaters because I volunteered over there, and as people walk by, or you see them get out of their boats or whatever, you strike up a conversation to see where they've come from. And I know I think last year or a few years ago, because they stopped for COVID for a while, but one of the couples that came in from Michigan, which I thought, that's a long ways to come on a boat.
Yeah, well,
you've had from all over the United States, people come here, and they absolutely love it. They're so totally impressed with what's to be offered. Like you said, now we have the water and electric. You're I believe on the honor system to pay for it. But there's information about places to go, things to do, people to see, walking distance for the boaters. It's a gem. It's a gem for people that love to be on the water.
This is a hydraulic plant which has been here for a long, long time, and people probably wonder it doesn't quite fit into the beautiful background of the village, but they're using the water coming over the dam for hydroelectric power, and so we kind of have it all out here. But this trail, the Southwest Trail, is really beautiful. I mean, if you walk down through when the boaters are here, and somebody will look and wave to you, and you say hi, and it's like right away they strike up a conversation. You know, we love your little village. It's really nice. We ate dinner last night. We had to go to the drugstore to get a Band-Aid, and people there were really nice. And things are not very far from here to get to drugstores, post office, bakeries, that type of thing.
Laundromat, anything you want.
And so many great places to eat. I mean, we have become famous for all of our good restaurants. You know, we've just recently opened Angry Smokehouse, which has been so busy. Father's Day, they ran out of a lot of their food again because it had so many people. There was a line, I guess you had to wait an hour and a half to get in.
Doesn't surprise me.
And so it's just one of the many great places to eat in the village. It just happens to be in a great spot for boaters. But if we can go out on the island and give a little better perspective and what it's like to be on the island and what you can see from there, and we'll continue with that. And here we are on the point of Paper Mill Island, the westernmost part of the park. And if you look this way, you see the trail, the visitor center. There's a walkway almost directly across by the flag. Over there, there are commemorative bricks that people can buy. Contact Village Hall to honor a loved one. Again, that trail walks all the way up here to the end of the cement, and then it does exit into the cemetery, which is for some people is a very nice walk, very peaceful. And if you're a history buff, you walk through that cemetery, I'll tell you what, you see a lot of names of people that had a lot to do with this village becoming what it is. Teachers, coaches. There's one little area where there's Arcaro, Pelcher, Nostrand. They're all right in the same area. It really tugs at your heart a little bit to think that great people are right there, but also makes you feel pretty blessed that we had people like that to make our village what it is, and our schools and all that type of stuff. So, but when you're standing out here, here's River Street, the back of River Street, and then you can see the orange buoys to the right, which keeps boats from going over the dam. And
over there, we still this is a point of where we are. Mercer Park is almost directly across from here too.
Right, we've almost come full circle.
Full circle around. So it's a point of reference, so you know that's where we started, and it's right there.
And you can see up to the marina. And this is just another, there's a kayak coming in. Somebody is using our kayak launch. Somebody's pulling a green one in, and there's a blue one right behind them. This is a very, very peaceful place to come, just if the seagulls don't attack you once in a while. But it's a great spot because you see life going on in the village with cars going over. You've got the cemetery here to remind you of the people from the past, the boats some of them are very majestic looking. People walking on the trails, people fishing. That's another big thing in the village. A lot of people like to fish from the wall across the way.
And
some
the
people
bridge.
fish on the bridge. We don't mind it, but we ask them to be courteous of walkers, to not block the sidewalk, and not to leave piles of worms on the sidewalk, which are disgusting. But this is pretty cool. And again, this was once a hazardous waste site, and it's been made into a beautiful facility. I mean, there's the amphitheater, very majestic through the trees. Sometimes this area is just packed with people for concerts.
Well, they had the Seneca River Days.
Seneca River Days were here.
Taste of Baldwinsville's coming up.
Got a big one on July 2nd with three bands and fireworks. And we have told the promoter that the fireworks have to go off at 10 o'clock. Can't wait till 10:30.
That's good.
And the fireworks reorient you, come from right over here in the cemetery. So if you're out here for a concert, this is a pretty good spot to stand and watch fireworks.
It is. It's beautiful.
So this is truly a gem. This whole area right here with on both sides of the river, and then the Paper Mill Island in the middle. And again, you can use this if you want to have a birthday party out here. Somebody wants to have a baby shower, and they ask could they use the amphitheater stage. So you get $30 to rent it and security deposit, and they don't need anything. They just want to have a place, I think, protected from the rain. And if they don't sign it up, they could show up and somebody could have a picnic up there. So by signing up, they guarantee that it'll be available for them. So, and you call Village Hall for any of that, and they'll sign you right up. And
now, are the rules here the same as the other parks as far as animals, bikes, that type of thing?
have to be on a leash. I'm not sure if we restrict people from even bringing dogs out here at all, but it definitely would have to be on a leash. And again, this closes at sunset. And at Christmas time, they wrap lights around these light poles, and so the island looks pretty festive. When you drive over the bridge, you can see the lights. Again, we've spent some effort in putting up these historic-looking lamp posts that look like it might have been something out of "It's a Wonderful Life" type of.
That's exactly what it reminds me of.
Scenario, and
yeah.
You know, it's just a little nice touch. You know, it makes you think this was here 100 years ago when it really wasn't. But it feels like it was an old-time facility. And I keep talking about, I really would love somebody to have a pie festival. I will go.
Well, I know you'd go, but That's actually a good idea. Remember the days of Al Palmer baking pies?
That's right.
For all the events. I'm sure a lot of people out there remember Albert Palmer. Albert Palmer Lane, remember?
Yeah,
That's named
that's
after
right,
him.
right next to where his facility was, and
Right.
he was a famous pie maker.
He could make a mean pie, too.
Oh, he was great, and a great family in the village, the Palmers.
So you're saying a pie festival. Well, anybody out there that loves to cook and loves to show off or showcase their pies, have a pie festival. Get together with some people, see if you can figure it out, because I'm sure you'll have plenty of people in this village and the surrounding area that will attend.
It'd be a great fundraiser.
It would be.
Sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do notice that I think we've already got a shot of it. There's another one of those dogs here.
Yes.
To scare off the birds or whatever it is. Seems to be working.
Yeah, it's
I
not,
don't see any.
Not nearly as messy as it sometimes gets up in this area. And and I say that messy. I mean it's just because it's perfect, and then it gets a little messy, and it's not quite perfect out here. But it's not bad. And today it's
Perfect.
Obviously, the dog's working somehow. I mean, some communities hire people with a dog to go in and
Right.
shag them out, and they chase the geese out. Some people find that to be inhumane. This is pretty.
I can't imagine
Not
it's real
painful.
expensive either. So, for something as simple, whoever would have thunk?
Right.
And it works. It
Yep.
really does seem to work.
Yep.
Now, this is beautiful out here.
So we'll go from here. Next, we'll go over by Baldwin Square because we have the head of the Yevich Trail and the square where we use that for activities also.
Okay.
So we'll
All right.
head from here over there.
We'll see you there.
See you there. All right, here we are at the head of the Sergei Yevich Trail, which runs down along behind the post office, the dance studio. It ends at the housing area, but at some point, the agreement when somebody builds apartments, they have to contribute to the villages in lieu of parks fund, because you bring that many people, we assume they're going to use our parks. So some of that money gets put into new swings, new trails, helps us keep it manicured, flowers, that type of stuff. So they said, what if we continue the trail past all the way to the end of our property, so people can walk all the way down to the end of the trail? And so that will be coming as they continue to develop. But right now it's still a beautiful trail. A few years ago, these trails were all stone dust.
Right.
And our engineer at the time, Steve D'Arcangelo, had said, why don't we try to see if we can get some community development money to pave all these? So we did, and so all of our trails are now paved. So people on bikes, people pushing strollers, it's so much nicer to walk on a completed trail. This one even has curbs. But this is a great spot to watch nature. First of all, you've got the old trestles from when I believe the train came across there. May have even been a road when the bridge was out. An alternate road was built to connect to the lower end of Water Street, and it's just a reminder of the past. Again, it's just one more reminder of our history. And this is, to me, is the best spot for nature watching. If you go down around to the bend and lean against the fence, the eagles will be up in the top of these trees, on the top of the electric tower over there, and this little island. There's sometimes some swans come up from down the river and come up and swim in this little, it's like a little lagoon type of area. Geese and ducks and herons and so on, egrets, they're all here. Just you got to be lucky. And it was a day when I was with my grandson standing there, and all these birds were within vision. And he said, Grandpa, but this is in the village.
Well, that's the beauty of in the village.
And when we had our 50th reunion, the Friday afternoon thing was a boat ride on the Wiles boat that was parked down by the old Dutchman. They came up and picked us up over by the visitor center. No, actually, we had to go down there. They brought us up through the locks, turned around by the visitor center, that big wide area, and then we went back through the locks and down to Onondaga Lake and back. Well, as we came through the locks and they opened up going towards Community Park, 2 eagles flew right across.
Perfect timing.
20 feet high.
Perfect
I said,
timing.
well, we paid a lot of money to have
Right.
that done.
Right.
And people looked at me.
Right along with the fireworks.
It just happened. But it was really cool. And because we were telling people how much the wildlife is around here. That, again, there's birds out there who don't even know they're in a village. I mean, and you get your seagulls, which is, you got to have them. But it's just a really nice spot. And then if you look this way, this is Baldwin Canal Square, Baldwin Canal Park, right in the center of the village. Tuesday we had farmers market here. Tonight, I believe, Thursday night is car show night.
Yes.
And so if people want to come down, they have 30, 40
old cars
that have been well taken
muscle
care
cars.
of. And it's, again, there's a restaurant there, you know, a restaurant right here with a diner. You're not far from Pizza Man. You're not far from Sal's. They're all right here. The BG1 on the corner. You can bring your lunch over and sit at a picnic table right in the middle of the village. Life goes on.
Around you.
But it doesn't bother you. I mean, there's people over here having their lunch underneath the picnic table. I don't know that they're from WT Brews. I think maybe they're just there because there's an umbrella.
Right, there's shade.
And I don't blame them.
Right.
So this is an area where we have our Christmas tree. It caps the parade of lights that comes through on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And then Santa Claus comes in the driveway. They bring him out. He comes up on the stage. We have him lead the countdown, throw the switch. Usually it's Jeff Bordwell, who's hiding somewhere and lights it right at 0. And there's been times when we've had 5,000 people, in my opinion. I mean,
it seemed like that. It seemed like Times Square on New Year's Eve.
Exactly. They're all the way back to Sheehan's and back to the bank, and all these little kids having a ball. And
it's great.
The diner always has free donut hole type things.
The library gets involved in that as well.
has part of an event over there. So this is kind of one of the hubs of the village, and at Christmas time it's really nice. And then the tree sits there, you know, until mid-January, and everybody going either on Genesee Street or Syracuse Street can look through and see the tree. It's beautiful. Our DPW, you may have noticed, I've said a lot about how well taken care of the parks are. And our DPW, led by Chuck McAuliffe and Danny Weir, you know, they're out mowing. They've got people hired to put in flowers. I know you did that for a year or two. People have pride in what our village looks like. Most of them live in the village, and because of that, we have a real nice place to live.
Yes, we do.
And
yes, well taken care of.
You're kind of crazy if you don't take advantage of it. I mean, get out and park your car here and just walk around the square.
And see what's there. There's so much when you're walking. You know, just as an aside, going back to this little island here with the birds, we've had some photographers, Kevin Timmons and Paul Pacelli. They come out early in the morning usually, and they take pictures of the birds, and we've put them on PAC, the PAC site, if you want to look and see what these birds are, if you don't happen to get lucky enough to see them if you come down here. But they have some fabulous pictures.
Unbelievable.
And
unbelievable.
They're very, very talented photographers, and you can get the pictures and see what kind of birds there are if you don't happen to see them when you come walking down here yourself.
See, the hard part is that the best time to see the birds is like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not usually up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I did that for 36 years working at the paper, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I'm going to do it pretty soon. I'm going to come down here early in the morning one day and just to see if I can spot, you know. And a lot of times you look and they're like at the top of this dead tree in the island, there'd be an eagle sitting up on the top of it, just looking around like, where am I going to get my next meal? Or where am I going to get food for my babies? And sometimes they don't live right here. They live farther down the river, but they come up here because it's better fishing for them.
Right. So, a lot of them are on Odaga Lake.
Yep.
They have a lot of nests down there. This is kind of, for bird watchers, this is kind of a bird watching area. This has become that because there's such a variety of birds that you don't just see every day, like your basic robin or starling, whatever. You see some real interesting birds, and there's nothing like seeing an eagle.
Yeah. And this trail, again, if you look, it's lighted, the historic looking lights. There's a couple benches along the way, so you can just sit down there. You know, if you're tired, you can bring your lunch and sit on a bench and look down the river. And you know, that's where we were. I mean, this is where these houses are. That's the one that goes on the spit. It goes all the way down. It doesn't look like there's anything there because it's so woody and stuff, but there is a trail in the middle. For somebody who's looking for something a little more adventurous, that's not a bad one. And if you want to pick up a can or a bag along the way and throw it away when you come
Right.
out. It's nice to help clean it up. And but we're very proud of our
It's kind of all
parks and
connected
trails,
too.
yeah.
Everything's kind of all connected one way or another, all the parks. And they're so accessible, easy to get. You can travel from one to another with no trouble at all.
And to cap it off, I'm very proud of the fact that we put in all kinds of sidewalks all over the village to make it easier for people to get places. If you walk, you can see the new sidewalks on both sides of the river in neighborhoods, so that people can want to go out walking with their kids, little kids. They don't have to walk over somebody's lawn to get to
Well,
the
it's
corner.
not just for with little kids. It's an adult. You've got a nice flat surface to walk on, and there's no surprises with roots and holes and all of that stuff.
And you hear Onondaga County talk about comprehensive plan, and one of their big things is, let's make it walkable. And I said, we're already ahead of the curve.
We're there.
We're
there.
We're walkable.
This
So-
community is definitely walkable.
All right, so I think our last stop will be Point Park, which is not quite a park per se, but it's I think it's something that people see who come into our village on a regular basis, and it's well taken care of, and it's worth taking 2 minutes to take a look at it.
It's kind of a welcome to the village of Baldwinsville type thing.
So we'll touch base with you again when we get to Point Park.
We'll see you there.
All right, here we are at the final stop on our venture. I mean, we missed a few little stops, but this is kind of one of those out in the middle of the public eye and hidden. This is a park. The village owns this property. We call it Point Park because it's the point of East Oneida and East Genesee Street coming together. Again, you notice the sidewalks. These were put in to help people from above who live up that way to be able to walk into the village and enjoy things without having to walk across rough grass, pushing a stroller and bouncing it, or somebody in a wheelchair having trouble. The sidewalk, it just opens up a whole world for people. But this is taken care of by the Women's Garden Club. We're very proud of the work they do. They also have a little garden on Water Street. As you turn to go down by Jesse Cakes on the right-hand side, they take care of that. But this is spectacular.
Well, just the Women's Garden Club also does the baskets, don't they?
They do the
baskets
the hanging
and the barrels.
baskets and the big barrels
Big
that are on the
barrels.
sidewalk.
Right.
So a lot of the beauty of our village is to be thanked to the Women's Garden, the Baldwinsville Women's Garden Club. Do a great job. They decorate for Halloween. Sometimes there's decorations down here. Christmas time there's some decorations. They've had different times where they've had like characters dressed in costumes, and I think people coming in on 31 see this, probably go, that's cute, and never think much about it. Like, whose is it? Who does it?
Who does it? Who handles it?
And I think everybody tends to be that way. You just assume it gets done, never really think much about the work that goes into it. But if you look at what's here, this is some work. Because I hardly see a weed. I mean, there's dying off flowers that are seasonal that have already had their season, but there's no weeds. It's beautiful.
They're very dedicated. They're all volunteers, and they're very dedicated to the beautification of our community.
And we certainly appreciate it. So when you're driving by this area, think that, this is something that your village, this is our village property. There's a little bit of an area in the back where you can park, not much, but, it's a kind of, we've talked different times about maybe putting a couple benches to make it like a memorial type garden.
Or even a serenity area.
Right, where somebody could come and think about a lost loved one, and maybe have a thing where they drop a little change in to support the garden club, that type of thing. But it's just beautiful. I mean, the trees and everything, just a beautiful spot. And unfortunately, it's not quiet. I mean, there's traffic going by here pretty much all day long, and so you're going to hear cars, you're going to hear trucks. But you just standing here talking now, you kind of block it out. I mean,
Right. You do.
You hear
you
it,
do.
but it doesn't bother
Because
you.
you're looking at all the beautiful flowers that are so well tended.
So people are invited to wander and take a look, and it's not a don't trespass type of site. Just don't hurt the flowers. And if you get a chance, and you know somebody who's in the garden club, thank them for us. And
Well, thank you to the Garden Club in Beeville. We appreciate all that you do in cooperation with our village.
And we appreciate the people who take care of their homes and have beautiful gardens and make the village look so much nicer. And I hope people will enjoy the package that Brian is putting together with all the different parks and trails that we visited today, that will offer some insight into what we have to offer here in the village. I mean, it's not like we're trying to say, come live here. We have plenty of people living here. But for those who are here, to appreciate the fact that this is all available to them at really no cost. I mean, if you live in an apartment and you say, we don't have anything here, it's just a parking lot and a building. You've got trails, you've got parks, and not very far away from anywhere in the village to get to one of them. So if you have any questions on using the facilities, call the village clerk, 635-3521. If you want to sign up one of the parks, you know, a pavilion, that type of thing. And if you see the DPW out taking care of the parks, thank them. I've been very privileged to have time today to share what we think is pretty special with you. And if you have any suggestions, don't hesitate to drop me a line at Village Hall, and we'll consider it. But again, thanks to PAC-B for giving us a chance to showcase our village.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you taking the time and joining us here, explaining everything. And I hope, as he says, that anybody in this community, whether you're in the village, the town, in Van Buren or Lysander, it doesn't matter, come and enjoy and take advantage of all the vistas that we have here that are essentially all free.
And you know, one thing I forgot to mention, we have another park. It's not our park, but Lysander has a park in the village. On Smoky Hollow Road.
Right,
it's a
true.
Beautiful park. They've really done a lot of great work. So if you live in that part of the village, you can use Lysander Park the same as you use any of the village parks, and they've done a great job with it. I'm sure Bob Wicks and company would be happy for you to go out and walk. And they have a little Serenity type garden over there. I think you might have had a hand in that. There's soccer fields and football fields and all kinds of stuff, pickleball courts. So it just adds to our whole pitch that we have plenty to do here in Baldwinsville without having to spend any extra money. So.
Right, it's a great community. So come and enjoy the weather any time of the year, really, for any of these parks. I mean, some of them you can do your snowshoeing or whatever, but please come out and enjoy. And just enjoy this community, this beautiful community we live in. And again, thank you, Mayor.
My privilege.